Good morning. We're running a little behind schedule this morning, but we are going to get in our reading this morning. I just got my coffee made and I am ready to dig into John chapter 11. John chapter 11. As you join with us today, John 11, verse 1. A man named Lazarus was sick. He lived in Bethlehem with his sister Mary and Martha, too. This is the Mary who later poured expensive perfume on the Lord's feet and wiped them with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was sick. 3. So the two sisters sent a message to Jesus telling him, Lord, your dear friend is very sick. Verse 4. But when Jesus heard about it, he said, Lazarus is sickened. Let me redo that. Verse 4. But Jesus heard about it. He said, Lazarus' sickness will not end in death. No, it happened for the glory of God, so that the Son of Man will receive glory. Again, it's all about lifting up and the Son of Man getting the glory and not us as well. Verse 5. So, although Jesus loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, 6, Jesus stayed where Jesus was for the next 2 days. 7. Finally, Jesus says to his disciples, let's go back to Judea. Now, we got to always remember God is an on-time God. God is a God of not chaos, but organization. And God always knows what is best. Never early, never late, always there in the present time. And though he waited 2 days, there was some good reason for that to take place. My cell phone is going crazy over here this morning, and so just making sure wasn't nothing important. So let's continue on with verse 8. But Jesus's disciples objected. Rabbi, they said, only a few days ago, the people in Judea were trying to stone you, and you want to go there again? Jesus replied, there are 12 hours in a day. Every day during the day, people can walk safely. They can see because they have the light of this world. 10. But at night, there's danger and they stumble because there is no light. 11. Then he said, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but now I will go to him and wake him up. 12. The disciples said, Lord, if he is sleeping, he will soon get better. 13. They thought that he meant he was simply sleeping, but Jesus meant he was dead. Again, my phone is going off and not sure what the deal is here. Okay. Verse 14. So he told them plainly. He talked to them, he answered them, they just didn't understand. We're a lot that way sometimes. Jesus is trying to tell us something. He's trying to lead us. He's trying to show us, and we just don't understand. Why? Because we try to Americanize it. Why? Because we try to think of it in our situation and circumstances, but we have to think about it in a heavenly and a godly way. So verse 14, so Jesus, told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I am glad Jesus, wasn't there, for now you will really believe. Come, Let's go and see him. I bet that was shocking to the disciples. This friend of theirs had died. Verse 16, Timothy, nicknamed the twins, said to his fellow disciples, let's go to and die with Jesus. Verse 17, when Jesus arrived at Bethany, Jesus, was told that Lazarus had already been dead in the grave for 4 days. 18. That was significant because they believed after 3 days there was no chance he was coming out again. 18. Bethany was only a few miles down the road from Jerusalem. 19. So many of the people had come to console Martha and Mary for their loss. 20. When Martha got word that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary stayed in the house. 21. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. 22. But even now, I know that God will give you whatever you ask. Man, what faith is that? She'd never seen anybody raised from the dead again. She'd never seen somebody come back, but she had such belief in God that she believed he would do the unnatural. He would do something that had never been experienced before. Man, do we have that kind of faith and belief in the Lord? 23. Jesus told her, your brother will rise again. That was 23. 24. Yes, Martha said, he will rise when everyone else rises at the last day. The 25th verse, Jesus told her, I, Jesus, am the resurrection and the life. The third of the I ams we've been reading. Anyone who believes in me will live even after dying. Man, love that verse. Saying that after we die, if we have a personal relationship with Jesus, there is eternal life. There is not without a personal, intimate relationship with Jesus Christ. Anyone who believes in me, he said, will live even after dying. 26. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never, ever die. Do you believe this, Martha? Do you believe this? That's the question. Anyone who lives in me and believes in me. Now, that means a surrendered life. That means a life of submission to God. That means we have become bond slaves to him. We've willfully joined him and his purpose and his plan and his desires are our life. Heavy stuff there. 27. Yes, Lord, she told him, I have always believed you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who came into the world from God. 28. Then she returned to Mary. She called Mary aside from the mourners and told her, the teacher is here and he wants to see you. 29. Mary immediately went to Jesus. 30. Jesus had stayed outside the village at the place where Martha met him. 31. When the people who were in the house consoling Mary saw her leave so hastily, they assumed that she was going to Lazarus' grave to weep. So they followed her. 32. When Mary arrived and saw Jesus, she fell at his feet. Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. Heard that before. 33. When Jesus saw her weep and saw the other people wailing with her, deep anger welled up within him, and he was deeply troubled. Where have you put him? He asked them. They told him, Lord, come and see. Verse 35, shortest verse in the Bible. Then Jesus wept. Now there's a big difference of why he wept here. I think he wept for lack of faith. I think he wept because all those that were there did not believe who he was and what he was capable of. He didn't weep because he lost his friend, for he knew what he was doing with his friend. He already told the disciples that we're going there to raise him from the dead. He's weeping over the brokenness of those that are lost and those that don't understand. Let's continue. Verse 36. The people who were standing nearby said, "See how much he loved him." 37. But some said, "The man healed a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?" Lack of faith. Couldn't he keep him from dying? Meaning he's hopeless now. If he'd been here, he wouldn't have died, but he did die. And now they're thinking that's the end. There's nothing he can do about it. 38. Jesus, still angry, as he arrived at the tomb, a cave with a stone rolled across its entrance. 39. Rolled the stone aside, Jesus said to them. But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested, "Lord, he has been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible." She said she believed he was the Messiah. She said she could believe, but her actions here aren't going along. Isn't that the way it is with us so many times? 40, Jesus responded, "Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believe?" 41. So they rolled the stone aside. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, "Father, thank you for hearing me." 42. You always hear me. But I, Jesus, said it out loud for the sake of all those there, people standing here, so that they will believe you sent me, Jesus. 43. Then Jesus shouted, "Lazarus, come out." 44. The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound in grave cloths, his face wrapped in the headcloth. Jesus told them, "Unwrap him and take him and let him go." Unwrap him and let him go. Why? Because he now lives. 45. When the people who were with Mary believed in Jesus when they saw this happen. 46. But some went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. See, there's always those out there trying to cause trouble. There's always those out there trying to cause dissension. There's always those out there who think that there's something better, something else that needs to be brought forth. And some believed, some didn't. And the ones that didn't caused destruction, despair. You know, we ought to hesitate there because we have this problem in our church. We have some in our churches that all they do is cause destruction and despair. We got to really search our hearts and look at that. "47. Then the leading priests and Pharisees called the high council together. What are we going to do?" They asked each other. "This man certainly performs many miraculous signs." 48. "If we allow him to go on like this, soon everyone will believe in him. Then the Roman army will come and destroy both our temple and our nation." 49. Caiaphas, who was the high priest at the time, said, "You don't know what you're talking about." 50. You don't realize that it's better for you that one man should die for the people than for the whole nation to be destroyed. 51. He did not say this on his own. As a high priest at the time, he was led to prophesy that Jesus would die for the entire nation. Verse 52. And not only for that nation, but to bring together in unity all the children of God scattered around the world. 53. So from that time on, the Jewish leaders begin to plot Jesus' death. 54. As a result, Jesus stopped his public ministry among the people and left Jerusalem. Jesus went to a place near the wilderness to the village of Ephraim, and he stayed there with his disciples. 55. It was now almost time for the Jewish Passover celebration, and many people from all over the country arrived in Jerusalem several days early so that they could go through the purification ceremony before the Passover began. They kept looking for Jesus, but they stood around in the temple. They said to each other, "What do you think? He won't come for Passover, will he?" 57. Meanwhile, the leading priests and the Pharisees had publicly ordered that anyone seeing Jesus must report it immediately so that they could arrest him. The plan is in effect. God's plan. As we've been reading through this book, you see several times he slipped away. Several times he said, "Now's not the time." It wasn't until it was God's time that everything lined up. And so we'll see soon it taking place. God loves you. He became the ultimate gift for you. What will you do with it? Think about that. God bless you. Have a great day.